recording for YouTube.
Can you just give me a signal when I should kick off? Yeah.
You're ready. You're ready to go. You're ready to go, mate.
I'm ready. All right. Let's take it away. Welcome to the second Zoomathon. Poets from all over the nation are joining this national community read-in. Great poets, island poets, poets of the Midwest and the Plains, poets of the West, poets of the South, poets of the East, poets of the Mid-Atlantic states, celebrated Pulitzer Prize winners, fellows of the Guggenheim, the Foundation for the Contemporary Arts, state poet laureates, lyricists, emerging poets, migrant poets, Black poets, Asian poets, poets of the rainbow, from sea to shining sea. This is Indran Amirthanayagam, your co-host this evening. Welcome to the Zoomathon, a unique event, really, and at a unique time. We need your support for Kamala, for Joe, for the Democratic Party. Consider donating throughout this program. $25 will get a Mad Hat book. For $50, a Mad Hat and an Unlikely book. And for $75, a very special treat, which you'll hear about a little bit later, in addition to those two books. I'm going to kick things off by inviting a very fine poet and friend and a founder of the Lit Balm series. Larissa Shmailo is a poet, writer, translator, editor, and writing coach whose mission is to help mentally ill people through writing. Her collection, Dora, Laura, is forthcoming from Sabbath Poetry. Go ahead, Larissa.
Thank you, Indran. Thank you, Indran, and welcome, poets, and welcome to you listening to us on Facebook. You know, the Republicans have turned their back on kindness, diversity, justice, knowledge of all kinds. We need to restore these values to our political lives, and that's why we're supporting the Democrats. We hope you will too. You can go to the chat now and donate at the Act Blue link. Viewers on Facebook can donate at our Facebook Lit Balm page or at Find Tickets on the event list. So please donate generously. No donation is too small. As Indran said, you will get a Mad Hat book for a $25 donation, a Mad Hat and an Unlikely book for a $50 donation. And for $75, you will get a pair of unique handcrafted Angry Lips plus the two books. So donate, please. And now I'm going to read a poem. This is called Wine Dark Sea. In the east, in the eastern rising lands, a tide, westering, earth-drawn, rising, the morning sun bloodied in its wake. She drags, pulls, shifts, hauls, tracines her hydraulic load. Tides born of tides, moon-drawn, myriad-headed, within her blood, Wainipa Penton, the wine-dark sea. A wet sign calls her hour, bids the earth-shaken fallen rise, bids the wet dirt wounded rise, bids the blood-dimmed peoples rise as she radiates out, 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 forever from her bed. The wet sign calls her hour, bids all to rise from childbed, bridebed, deathbed, rise. He comes, the red salt vampire in clouds and tears and claws, battle-led, draws, battle-red, mouth to mouth, limb to limb, skin to skin, there, here. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Lit Balm co-host Jonathan Penton, who has founded the electronic literary journal Unlikely Stories in 1998. He has provided technical and management assistance, expertise, to arts organizations like the New Orleans Poetry Festivals and many others. Please help me welcome Jonathan. Jonathan, please take it away.
Thank you, Larissa. So this is a short acrostic piece. It is based on a sculpture by Alison Sarr called Traveling Light. It's installed in the New Orleans Sculpture Garden, and it's named after the poem Traveling Light. My Black wife and I went to a gallery opening. The exhibit was a mix of painted photographs and mixed media sculptures on the subject of the lynching of Black Southerners. The artist was a white man, and he was attempting to explain his work to two other white men, as well as educate them on the source material and events. The two observers were agitated and aroused, thrilled to be there opening night for such an important exhibit. They said that the subject was painfully heavy, but they found it cathartic as well. My wife did not sleep that night. This sculpture is a man hanging from a rope. He is upside down. He is hanging from his feet. His head is hollow. His head is a bell. The clapper had to be removed from his skull so that people would stop ringing it. That is what I know. Okay, it's my great privilege today to introduce my friend and co-host, Marc Vincenz. Marc is an Anglo-Swiss-American poet, a fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He has published 14 books of poetry, including more recently Becoming the Sound of Bees, Leaning into the Infinite, The Syndicate of Water and Light, and Here Comes the Night Dust. Marc, will you read a poem for us today?
I'd love to. Thank you, Jonathan. One thing, I pay taxes. I'm actually just a legal resident, but maybe our president should too. Cast your vote for an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. And please donate to Act Blue using the link in the chat or in the Facebook feed. It's also there. We really need to make a change. And although this is just a tiny little drop in the ocean, every little bit helps. This poem is called The Best Apples, for Millie. The best apples are at the top of the tree, those that dangle, the ripest. All gravity's work. Let us open this pocket of wasteland. There's no happily ever after. Nothing, of course, lives on in infinity. A bold dictum by my grandmother. She, who could coax squirrels from their holes, who could sense the cutting of lumber. The windowless features of the Last Supper, the sun and the ghost looking out upon whom? Friends, Romans, countrymen. Let us follow these funereal rites and honor the warrior with his irons in the fire. Watch how the flag flutters at half-mast and the larches hop through the grass. An atheist plays his croquet. A monk blows out the light. All these candles and the shining handles in the grapevine of ideas. Connive, they say. You may be only half alive. Watch the trajectory of the half and the whole. Watch the burning. Life is delivered from the thefts. It's the iron legs dragging behind that cause that wake. Build a love machine like part of your central heating system. Listen to those pipes pump and sway. Thanks, guys. I'm now going to hand the evening over to Indran. I will step in occasionally and remind everyone to please donate because we need to make a change as quickly as possible. We only have this one chance, it seems. Otherwise, we're likely to have another 4 years of you-know-what. Anyway, here's Indran Amirthanayagam. He writes and translates in English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole. He has 19 poetry books, including The Migrant States from Hanging Loose Press, Sur l'île nostalgique from L'Art Matan, and Lyrica a Tiempo, Mesa Redonda 2020. He edits the Beltway Poetry Quarterly, which I highly recommend everyone to submit poems to, a beautiful magazine, also co-run by Sara, Cahill Marron, who will be appearing slightly later. Also Indran writes a poetry column for Haiti en Marché, He has won the Patterson Prize and is a 2020 Fellow in Poetry from the Foundation for the Contemporary Arts. Take it on.
Thank you very much, Marc, and thank you all. Yeah, guess who's coming to dinner? Let's invite Camilla and Joe this Thanksgiving. You know, let's bring the family back together. The divided house cannot stand, and these are unifiers, and so let's support them. One of the themes in this election is the migrant, you know, and I'll read from my book, The Migrant States, a poem called The Migrant's Reply. We have been running for so long. We are tired. We want to rest. We don't want to wake up tomorrow and pack our bags. We have gone 10,000 miles. We have boarded a rowboat, tugboat, bus, freight train. We have a cell phone and some bread. Our eyes are dry. Our breath needs washing. What next? You are putting up a wall on your southern flank. What an irony. The country that accepts refugees does not want us. We qualify. We have scars, and our host governments hunted at least some of us. The rest fled in fear. Gangs do not spare even the children. White vans took away our uncles, our cousins. Do you think they've been made into plowshares? Aye, what are you saying? What are you saying? Too easy to wear our hearts in these words, in slings on our faces, furrowed, perplexed. What happened to kindness to strangers? Why do we have to be herded like prisoners held in a holding camp? We are human beings, and like you in safer countries, we have the same obligation to save ourselves and our children. Oh, the children, look at them. Give them food and school and a new set of clothes. Give them a chance. Whether you are red or blue, the eye of the hurricane does not discriminate. We are your tumbling weeds, hurling cars, flooding banks, and we are diggers of the dikes. We can teach you so many languages and visions. You would learn so much. You would never, ever say, lock us up. The migrants reply, thank you. And now I will introduce to you my friend, the poet, Philadelphia-based John Wall Barger. John's poems and critical writing have appeared in American Poetry Review, the Kenyon Review, the Hopkins Review, Alaska Quarterly Review, Rattle, the Cincinnati Review, Poetry Island Review, and the best of Canadian poetry. His fourth book, The Mean Game, Palimpsest 2019, is currently in his second print run. He'll read to us from Philadelphia. Welcome, John.
Thanks so much, Indran. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yep.
Thank you. So thanks very much to Lit Balm, Indran, Marc, and the organizers. I'm excited to hear everybody, and I'm very excited to be included. So I'm just going to read one poem, but I wanted to show you what arrived today in the mail. I got my official mail-in ballot, and I'm very excited. That arrived just an hour ago, so it seemed like propitious timing. Yay, let's get that orange thing out of there, shall we? Okay, so one poem. It's called Ivanka Trump Song. She watched a TV movie about Princess Di 117 times, and that was it, her destiny. She used to wear plain cotton dresses. Now she stepped out in purple bouffant, mise-en-scène, she called them, or contexts. We stood awestruck. Her face, once soft, resembled an imperial dragon mask, spectacular. Her hair, once frizzy, rose off her forehead like an old stone viaduct. She'd become, we agreed, urbane. Most royals, she said, even after years in fine rooms, never learn the art of the rich. You mean, we asked, understatement? No, she said, ormolu. Someone whispered, wasn't she a poet? Yes, we said, isn't it great? Once a kleptomaniac, now she touched nothing. She glided through the mall, pointing at items with her thumb. She gave us a tour of her glittering condo. Toilet, I said. Les cabinets, she said. Huh? Excusez-moi? Toilet. By the drawing room. Living room? And so on. Last we saw of her, she was standing on her front lawn by the fish pond, straight as a tuning fork, chin lifted slightly, holding a cracked teacup with index finger and thumb, waving with tiny hand motions like a real celebrity. Then she stepped in stilettos backwards across the surface of the water. Thanks very much. Looking forward to everybody's reading.
Thank you, John. Wonderful. We're going to hear now one more poet before we turn to a live message. David Blair's first book of poetry, Ascension Days, was chosen by Thomas Lux for the 2007 Del Sol Poetry Prize. He is also the author of Friends with Dogs from Sheep Meadow Press, Arsonville from New Issues, Poetry and Prose, and Barbarian Seasons from Mad Hat Press, who also published his recent prose collection, Walk Around, Essays on Poetry and Place. Take it away, David.
Hi. I'm so glad to be here with so many of my friends and people whose work I love. And I'm glad to be here for one of my lifelong loves, the Democratic Party, the party that feels like a party to me, the one with the big tent and the practical idealists. I'm happy that we get to support Joe and Kamala. And here's something from my new book, Barbarian Seasons, which I started when a new ugliness seemed to be on the land in 2015, and I kept writing it through a lot of events that pop up in the book. The last section of the book is set at Walden Pond on an early summer day, and yes, it is a group portrait that has a lot to do with why I am a Democrat. What I believe again at Walden Pond now. In my heart, Walt Whitman's mind, Gerard Manley Hopkins. A girl micro pens hand-colored cartoon razor panels into her diary, fine hands dialogue bubbles and her prose narration, while some guys blast Donald Vincent's new album, his flow from a boombox far away enough to sound only nearby coastal undulations. The highways turn the color of nicotine stains, the lateral roads and the overpass streets, rustier by bridges, festooned with flags all over again. Summer roads too narrow for trucks, come to the pond, even some long-fingered bossa nova guitar chords, a friendship picnic, up around the lifeguard-free bend, two old guys in ball caps, such old shits, with outboard tilted up and boat high in water, lines out, golf shirts, can feel my own shorts crawling about the same age about as a Chinese couple emerged from spontaneous dip in water, the lady soaked and laughing in a dress, maybe come from a Baptist church, feeling renewed, amused, screw rules, go this way, his slacks knotted to shorts. All smart people come here. I believe a lady who ladles out bean soup from her zinc pot, kinder, thriftier, work smart, family love people with enemies. I see a guy read What Maisie Knew. I see a lady with moles read an academic journal with small print graphs and 2 columns per page. I see a couple perform retina scan and thigh exchange in supple leopard print trunks, though I can't tell whose ass went with whose arms. Pure circus. I see some rashes and dry skin and peppermint pattern belly meat all gender thigh because we have to sit in so many clammy places like Somerville buses. It is a good place for the nerdy to swing far out here, the law students speaking with their transitions and paragraphs, and the goof who interrupts the flow of mutual discourse to say, Wow, 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 as his partner steps from her dress toward the water. But hey, man, you get too shady in my poem. Come on. We all think about bacteria, microscopic life, the large and the small. As the pine cone pollen swirls its golden, starry shapes on the waters, and the pond will be closed next week on account of algae from piss. I believe everybody here, wicked pissers, the babies especially. Thank you. Thanks for putting this event together. I'm looking forward to whoever's reading next.
Thank you, David. Marc, do you want to take it from me for a minute? Yeah. Marc?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're moving on to Hugo. Hugo Burnham is a teacher, drummer, dad, a pragmatic socialist, Englishman. He's formerly the drummer for the rock group The Gang of Four and is currently assistant professor and internship faculty for the School of Performing Visual Arts at Endicott College in Beverly, Massachusetts. Welcome, Hugo.
Thank you. I'm here because of David Blair. If that's a good or a bad thing, I'm not sure. So the first poet I loved, Brian Patten, was one of the Liverpool poets. Liverpool, Lancashire, better known as Merseyside, was this monstrously cool place far away up north in another England, far from my home south of London. It was as far away as Mars, where music came from. Their anthology, The Mersey Sound, was published in 1967. This wasn't the poetry we'd been raised on. This was Fab Gear. This was Beatles. This was a finger in the eye of our teachers and their Keats and Shelley and Shakespeare and dead men who spelled fairy with an E, 2 E's actually. Philip Larkin loved them, but of course he'd been fucked up by his parents. I loved them too. My parents were just wonderful. Patten's first volume of his own poetry, Little Johnny's Confession, was also published in 1967. I was 11. I won't do a Liverpudlian accent. Little Johnny's Confession. This morning, being rather young and foolish, I borrowed a machine gun my father had left hidden since the war, went out and eliminated a number of small enemies. Since then, I've not returned home. This morning, swarms of police with tracker dogs wander about the city with my description printed on their minds asking, have you seen him? He is 7 years old, likes Pluto, Mighty Mouse, and Biffo the Bear. Have you seen him anywhere? This morning, sitting alone in a strange playground, muttering, you've blundered over and over to myself. I work my next move, but cannot move. The tracker dogs will sniff me out. They have my lollipops. Gang of Four were a band, 3/4 of whom were university students, mostly from south of London, studying, drinking, dancing, making noise and misbehaving in Leeds, Yorkshire, up north, 65 miles east of Liverpool, almost equidistant from London. I was not the lyricist, but I wrote this B-side song with a gracious assist from my vocalist, John King, driven by a story in the horrible daily newspaper, The Sun, and twisted around James Brown, dub style. I was 23. I won't do a Leeds accent either. It's her factory. Item, daily press. Views to suppress. Subject, story on the front page, suffering from suffrage. Title, Unsung Heroines of Britain, a position to attain, convenient fiction. Housewife heroines, addicts to their homes. It's her factory. It's her duty. It's her factory. Paternalist journalist, he gives them sympathy because they're not men. Scrubbing floors, they're close to the earth. In a man's world, they're not men. In a man's world, because 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 they're not men. In a man's world, a little of a lot keeps them happy. Avoid the answers, but keep them snappy. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Hugo.
Like you, Marc, I scream for no taxation without representation.
As do we all. And how about the bloody hurricanes and the raging wildfires? How many of those does it take to acknowledge climate change is a reality? We absolutely need people to be responsible, think about the future, their children, their children's children. With this current administration, that is obviously off the table. So let's change this up, and please donate. The Act Blue donation link is on Facebook. It's on the Facebook feed. It's also in the chat right now. I'm sure Jonathan will just stick it in there. And on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Indran again.
Thank you, Marc. Yeah, donate, vote if you haven't already. Now, we're going to hear now from Stephanie Burt. Stephanie is a poet, literary critic, and professor. She has published 4 collections of poems: Advice from the Light in 2017, Belmont in 2013, Parallel Play 2006, and Popular Music in 1999. In 2012, the New York Times called Burt one of the most influential poetry critics of her generation. It's all yours, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a real honor to be in this crowd doing something that is so clearly important and so clearly something where all of us can pitch in at least. Oh, there we go. Hi. Am I visible now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a real honor to be here. Let's put that Act Blue link in the chat again, because as wonderful as it is to be in this group, we are also here for a purpose, and we love to be able to raise, every bit of money, which, every time the DNC and every time Joe and Kamala have a little bit more to spend, that helps down ballot candidates, that helps flip state legislatures in places like Texas, that helps make lasting change possible. And thank you for mentioning taxation without representation as a continuing issue, because I grew up with that. I'm from Washington, D.C. I love that I live near David Blair now. We live in Belmont, Massachusetts. Hi, David. Hi, everyone. And I feel fortunate to be where we are. And I'm excited, not just scared of what the orange guy wants to do if he gets to stick around, but excited for the things that the Democrats will be able to do if we get in there with enough of a mandate and enough of a majority. This is a brand new poem that just comes from seeing some of the organization and the bits of really direct democracy that a lot of us were seeing in our country and elsewhere in June. And it's named after something that I saw. Tea kettle on traffic cone, June 2020. If you want power, you should have to earn it. Nobody shared or shaved this road in days. It's dross and stubble, cans and cartons, all the way down to 10th Street. There's a lesson laws wanted to teach my more courageous friends who refused to learn it. That was last night. The loss of smell and taste can mean you're getting sick, but the loss of right and wrong, so you double down on your protection racket, should hasten your departure before you get hurt and leave our town worse than you found it. Streetlights shut off after dawn. Somebody placed a thing on top of another thing and left it here. How fragile the state seems now, and yet how agile we have to be this morning to get around it, much less overturn it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so delighted to introduce Juwan Choi. I like discovering great new poets, and she's definitely one of them. She's a poet, teacher, an urban gardener. She's the author of One Daughter is Worth 10 Sons, published by Hanging Loose Press. Her second collection, I Used to Be Korean, will be published in 2021. The microphone is yours, Jiwon.
Thank you so much. And thank you for, it's an honor actually to be a part of this endeavor. I really thank you, Indran, for inviting me to be a part of it. I also want to preface that I'm a preschool teacher. When I'm not writing poetry, I'm teaching 4-year-olds. And I know that there's a lot of darkness around us, but I think we have to remember that there's also a lot of light and that we can't give up on the light. And I'm reminded of that every day when I work with my young children in school. So I'm going to read a poem titled Cortez Takes the R Train, and in honor of the Biden and Harris ticket. Cortez takes the R train. The sun, sorry, let me start over. Cortez takes the R train. The sun made us by pulling out her smallest teeth and spitting these onto earth, where we became rocks and trees, some of us sinking to the bottom of the sea, where we fulfilled our Atlantis destiny, growing gills and mermaid scales. It was the beginning, and we had no thoughts, just the ambition of cells to split and split again, growing our matter into mass, mothers into daughters. It makes no difference that it was you, Cortez, they sent to collect our gold. A worker bee doing the queen's bidding, growing the legless, blind worms into a galleon of cannons and fire. When you landed, you showed us how little you knew about genus. Neanderthals, ancient Sumerians, Aztec Indians, all of us thrust into the fire like wild pigs until our eyes melted and our hearts exploded like Roman candles in the night. But we crossed the centuries to be here, to grow like corn, to show the Mayan ruins in our ancient faces, riding through Queens on the R train. Thank you.
Thank you, Jiwon. We crossed the centuries to be here. Wonderful. Our next poet, Peter Cooley, has published 10 books of poetry, 9 of them with Carnegie Mellon. That press will release his 11th, The One Certain Thing, in 2021. He is Professor Emeritus at Tulane. I remember from my brief visits to New Orleans, celebrated poet there. He was, from 2015 to 2017, Louisiana's Poet Laureate. It's all yours, Peter.
Thank you, thank you. You can actually hear me now. I learned to do this thing. I'm very excited and honored to be here also. And I thought to myself, I give very few readings which are ostensibly political, but I thought back to the first poetry reading I probably ever gave, which was at Iowa City when I was a student there. It was for SDS, if you remember that organization. I don't even know if it exists anymore, but it was tremendously important in terms of its influence on the Vietnam War. This is an ostensibly apolitical poem, but of course it's political at the same time because it's concerned with the death of my wife, who died 2 years ago. And I was already thinking a great deal about death after that event, since I walked into the living room and found her dead after 52 years of marriage. But death is all around us now. And we also have a leader, if you call him that, who doesn't seem to think it's a serious matter. And perhaps he believes he's immortal. I don't know what's on his mind, but it's everywhere. The poem is called Widower. There really is no word for us, is there? Widower from widow doesn't say it. Nothing says it except poetry. More crying. I'm not a widower, I am widowed. And now this imagery, all I have now, all insufficiency. This morning when I woke up, you were here, an indentation in the sheets. You'd left to start the day in your study praying. And before that, in the middle of the night, I reached out to touch you or tried to touch, or was it you reaching to touch me? My lines are too interlaced with questioning. But what else is this hunger, not hunger, thirst, not thirst, this aching through my arms, my legs? How else can I sing with the birds except to get up before first light again, to lay my words along, beside, inside, the song that breaks me up, assembles me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Marc?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Peter. That was amazing. And thank everybody for being here and helping to support this cause. As we've all discovered during this COVID pandemic, the current administration is putting our lives at risk, mostly through inaction and lies. I sometimes wonder to myself how, the logic behind some of the strategies that the current administration is utilizing. But let's stand up for the actions and the facts, and let's save lives. And please donate right now. Any small amount will be fine. $5, $10, if you can, $1,000. We're hoping to reach another 4,000 this afternoon. But we'll accept whatever we can get. And right now we've raised $4,390. 110 people have donated. So if we can hit another 6 or 7, 8,000 tonight, that would be great. But like I said, any amount is worthy. And I know a lot of people are tight at the moment, so we're all sort of waiting out this storm. We probably all realize that it's going to take quite a bit longer than anyone initially anticipated. Back to you, Indran.
Thank you. And don't forget that if you can manage $75, you'll be getting a very special, unique work of art along with the 2 books. At some point in the course of the afternoon, you'll see an example of that unique work of art. I don't have one right at hand because I have yet to donate $75, but I'm planning to do that. So will you join me? Thank you. Next, Stuart Dischell is the author of 6 books of poetry, including the forthcoming The Lookout Man. He's a professor in the MFA program at Greensboro. Go ahead, Stuart.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to read for you this afternoon. A message from the herd. Long ago in the tall grass by sweet waters, we fed and let our young cavort and tarry. You performed your ceremonies by the river, and our kind listened to what you call your songs. You told of the hard times in your story, when you hung your harps in the willow trees. Born on the 5th day, we of the field quiver and twitch, asleep all night on our hooves. Our fears are common, our sounds monotonous. We do not crave the subtleties of your languages, words like cleave and hide and head, or how it is you pray to rain stones on your neighbor's children. Lowing in the meadow, no enemies stand grazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. It's a thrill for me to present the next poet who's celebrated in our land. Camille Dungey has written 4 collections of poetry, most recently Trophic Cascade and the essay collection Guidebook to Relative Strangers. Her honors include a Guggenheim Fellowship, NEA fellowships in both poetry and prose, and an American Book Award. Camille, microphone is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Indran. I'm so happy to be here. Delighted to follow Stuart Dischell, my old professor, in this super important opportunity for us to all come together and share words of conviction and power and a hope for progress and change. I'm speaking to you today from Colorado in the American West, where about 20 miles from me right now, 187,000 acres are on fire. This time yesterday, there were only 167,000 acres. So we've gained 20,000 acres in this fire in less than 24 hours. California has about 4.4 million acres on fire. America is on fire. We need an administration who believes in climate science. We need an administration who will empower and embolden the Bureau of Land Management and the Departments of the Interiors rather than stripping them and using them as ways to pad their partners' pockets. We need real change to save this planet for our children and ourselves. So I thank those of you who are willing now to donate whatever you can to Act Blue for this purpose. This'll hurt me more. Don't make me send you outside to find a switch, my grandmother used to say. It was years before I had the nerve to ask her why switch was the word her anger reached for when she needed me to act a different way. Still, when I see some branches, wispy ones like willows, like lilacs, like the tan yellow forsythia before the brighter yellow buds, I think these would make perfect switches for a whipping. America, there is not a place I can wander inside you and not feel a little afraid. Did I ever tell you about that time I was 7? Buckled into the back seat of the Volvo before buckles were a thing. America required. My parents tried, despite everything, to keep us safe. It's funny. I remember the brown hills sloping toward the valley, a soft brown welcome I looked for other places, but found only there in my grandmother's skin. Yes, I have just compared my grandmother's body to my childhood's hills, America. I loved them both, and they taught me each things I needed to learn. You have witnessed, America, how pleasant hillsides can quickly catch fire. My grandmother could be like that, but she protected me too. There were strawberry fields, wind guarded in that valley, tarped against the cold. America, you are good at taking care of what you value. Those silver gray tarps made the fields look like a pond I could skate on. As the policeman questioned my dad, I concentrated on the view outside the back window. America, have you ever noticed how well you stretched the imagination? This was Southern California. I'd lived there all my life and never even seen a frozen pond. But there I was in 70-degree weather, imagining my skates carving figure eights on a strawberry field. Of course, my father fit the description. The imagination can accommodate whoever might happen along. America, if you've seen a hillside quickly catch fire, you have also seen a river freeze over, the surface looking placid, though you know the water deep down, dark as my father, is pushing and pushing, still trying to get ahead. We are driving home, my father said. My wife and my daughters, we were just on our way home. I know you want to know what happened next, America. Did my dad make it safely home or not? Outside this window, lilac blooms show up like a rash decision the bush makes each spring. I haven't lived in Southern California for decades. A pond here killed a child we all knew. For years after that accident, a spring bloomed and ice thinned. My daughter remembered the child from her preschool. And now, it's not so much that she's forgotten, it's more that it seems she's never known that child as anything other than drowned. My grandmother didn't have an answer. A switch is what her mother called it, and her grandmother before her. She'd been gone from that part of America for over half a century, but still that Southern soil sprang up along the contours of her tongue. America, I'll tell you this much. I cannot understand this mind, where it reaches. Even when she threatened to beat me, I like to imagine the swishing sound a branch would make as it whipped toward my body through the resisting air. She'd say, "This is hurting me more than it's hurting you." I didn't understand her then, but now I think I do. America, go find me a switch. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you for evoking Allen Ginsberg too. And thank you for broadening him and bringing him into ecological America, you know, with those fires burning close to you, 20 miles away. Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful poem and meditation. Now, please donate. Have a look at Act Blue, send what you can. You know, we're on a roll here. I'm thrilled. Me da mucho gusto saludar a Martin Espada. The poet I read from way back when Rebellion is a Circle and a Lover's Hand, I think that was way back that I read of your work. He has published more than 20 books as a poet, editor, essayist, and translator. His forthcoming books of poems is called Floaters, and it's coming out from Norton in 2021. It's all yours, Martin.
Thank you, Indran. I'd like to thank all the organizers and all the readers this evening, and welcome all. This is a poem from the forthcoming book, Floaters. It's about the first hate crime committed in the name of Donald Trump. It's also about Donald Trump's idea of hell, empathy. The poem is called Not for Him, the Fiery Lake of the False Prophet. Epigraph. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists. Donald Trump, June 16th, 2015. They woke him up by pissing in his face. He opened his mouth to scream in Spanish, so his mouth became a urinal at the ballpark. Scott and Steve, the Leader brothers, celebrating a night at Fenway, where the Sox beat the Indians and a rookie named Rodriguez spun the seams on his changeup to hypnotize the tribe. Later that night, Steve urinated on the door of his cell, and Scott told the cops why they did it. Donald Trump was right. All these illegals need to be deported. He was a Mexican in a sleeping bag outside JFK Station on a night in August, so they called him a wetback and emptied their bladders in his hair. In court, the lawyers spoke his name, Guillermo Rodriguez, immigrant with papers, crop picker in the fields, trader of bottles and cans collected in his cart. Two strangers squashed the cartilage in his nose like a can drained of beer. In dreams, he would remember the shoes digging into his rib cage, the pole raked repeatedly across his cheekbones and upraised knuckles, the high five over his body. Donald Trump was right, said Scott. And Trump said, the people that are following me are very passionate. His hands fluttered as he spoke, a demagogue's hands, no blood under the fingernails, no whiff of urine to scrub away. He would orchestrate the chant of build that wall at rally after rally, bellowing till the blood rushed to his face, red as a demagogue in the grip of masturbatory dreams, a tribute to the new conquistador, the wall raised up by Mexican hands, Mexican hair and fingernails bristling in the brick, Mexican blood swirling in the cement like raspberry syrup on a vanilla sundae. On the Cinco de Mayo, he leered over a taco bowl at Trump Tower. Not for him, the fiery lake of the false prophet reddening his ruddy face. Not for him, the devils of Puritan imagination, shrieking in a foreign tongue and climbing in the window like the immigrant demons he conjures for the crowd. Not even for him, 10,000 years of the leader brothers streaming a fountain of piss in his face as he sputters forever. For him, hell is a country where the man in a hard hat paving the road to JFK Station sees Guillermo and dials 911. Hell is a country where EMTs kneel to wrap a blanket around the shivering shoulders of Guillermo and wipe his face clean. Hell is a country where the nurse at the emergency room hangs a morphine drip for Guillermo so he can go back to sleep. 2,000 miles away, someone leaves a trail of water bottles in the desert for the border crossing of the next Guillermo. We smuggle ourselves across the border of a demagogue's dreams. Confederate generals on horseback tumble one by one into the fiery lake of false prophets. Into the fiery lake crumbles the demolished wall. Thousands stand sledgehammers in hand to await the bullhorns, and handcuffs await the trembling revolvers. In the full moon of the flashlight, every face interrogates the interrogator. In the full moon of the flashlight, every face is the face of Guillermo. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marc. In court, the lawyer spoke his name. He did. And these past 4 years, we've watched as these cherished democratic norms are violated and annihilated. The United States is flirting with, as we know, authoritarianism. And if we allow 4 more years of this current administration, well, please donate now to Act Blue through the Lip Balm Facebook page. There's a link that says tickets on there. Also, we have posted on the chat here in Zoom and on the Facebook feed. Please donate as much as you can. Let's try and make a little change. Let's move forward. And I'm going to hand it back to you, Indran, again.
Thank you, Marc. We're really on a roll here. Some powerful poetry. And, you know, and we're not going to stop. Huh? We got to go and take that house, that people's house back and give it a deep clean over there on Pennsylvania Avenue, and then move on beyond that. So are you ready to give it a deep clean? Your
Absolutely.
donations will help, huh? We've got to get lots of cleaning materials out there.
The same ones that managed to cure COVID, or?
Let's just say that it's a metaphor for COVID and many other illnesses that
Of course.
are plaguing us.
Of course.
You know, our next poet is a very dear friend, and he's a poet, he's a non-fiction writer, a professor. He was a journalist for the Village Voice for many years. Francia teaches at NYU, at New York University. His poetry books include Museum of Absences, The Beauty of Ghosts, and his latest, Tattered Boat. It's all yours, hombre.
Thank you, Indran, and thank you to Balm for putting this together. It's probably the most consequential poetry reading I've been involved in, and I certainly hope we can take out the garbage, as a friend of mine put it, on election day. We do need to clean the house, and we start by taking the rot out of the White House. This is a poem I wrote shortly after 9/11, and it's basically a paean to the undocumented immigrants of New York, and it's called New York Mythologies. Buildings and streets talk of the bold and the old. Through them now race people's heartbeats, fast sails on the Hudson. Nothing abstract in our days of earning bread, in these heights that itch with glass and modern blood, of skywalkers and ironmongers. Nothing abstract in an archipelago of byways, from Harlan River Drive to Northern Boulevard, from Mulberry Street to Flatbush Avenue, in yellow cab, in caravanserai of vans and buses that crawl through this vast metropolis. On the 7 train where all the earth gathers, here all we are and where, rot, fat, and divinity, from the Adriatic to the Pacific, gifts of 7 continents, Mongol, Aztec, Berber, Cherokee, Zulu, Zuni, Semite, Aborigine, Malay, Han, Viking. Alphabets ancient and modern, of natives and immigrants, writing the secrets of love and empires of desire, higher than the city's fabled towers. Do we not make her language, her stories come alive with our trespasses, our gentle violations? Have we not now always spoken, who have always been spoken for? Are we not both the citadel's trade and traders, its builders and inhabitants, its orphans and parents? Do not the black livery driver, brown bodega man, Muslim mother and householder respond with an act of faith when taunted or shot at? Seduced, we seduce with the music of our food and the food of our music. Black bean arpeggios, green curry sonatas, milkfish symphonies, the kundiman of ginger, souk of lemongrass, ragas of tamarind and chili. To you who have sheltered all Mannahatta, ourselves we bring as presents and presences, our imagination rude with grace, in the aeries of an ever-evolving city, in the streets of a revolving text, where a derelict contemplates the Bhagavad Gita, a messenger dreams of running through Machu Picchu. Our bones are marrowed with hope, our childhood gods and duendes in tow, cradles and graves on our backs. Mannahatta, You whom no one can own, listen. In the days that whisper of the past, in nights without history, our bodies are your capital, our lives and deaths, your new mythologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you. Now we'll hear from Nick Hakim. Nick is a singer, songwriter, musician, a producer from Washington, D.C. He has made several recordings under his own name. The most recent is called Will This Make Me Good? One day, Nick showed up at Roy's house and announced that he'd like to sing some of the poems from Roy's new book. Nick proceeded to compose and sing the title song from the record, Small Things. Nick and Roy will now be performing 2 songs from this new CD. The CD will be released in December on Nixo Records. Take it away.
Do you want to read Roy's bio as well?
Sure. Roy Nathanson is a saxophonist, poet, band leader, and teacher. He's made 10 CDs with his band, the Jazz Passengers, and he has in his second book of poetry, Conversations and Other Songs, will be out this December with Mad Hat Press. Go ahead.
Roy, can you hear us? I'm hitting ask to unmute.
Pleasure to be in this group of wonderful poets, and also for this, at this horrible time. This song's called Small Things, and voting is a small thing, and whatever you can possibly do to change this horror that's going on, any small thing.
All right, this is Small Things.
I only know some small things. She was speaking to the saxophone in an intimate way, all because she saw in the saxophone a kindred spirit. Oh, the saxophone was old. She played fancy all over for many years, but when it spoke simply, she could see its metal neck relax. Anytime the saxophone played a few repeating notes, an intervallic twist, or just a simple triplet, repeated all of that over and over. She felt the harmony emerge. I know some medium-sized stuff too, she told the saxophone. But it's the chewable things that I really trust. When you make broad connections, I tend to blur. I think it's neurological. And the saxophone said, Tachupa, 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 papa, papa, tachupa, 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 papa, tachupa, 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 papa, tachupa, 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 tachupa. Maybe so, she sighed, but even small stuff is really hard to say.
right. That's small things.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Bravo.
This is also our first time ever performing this for an audience. So
Beautiful. That's
thank
beautiful.
you for being the first beautiful bunch of people. And yeah, we're gonna play another one, right?
The other one too now?
Is that okay? Should we just keep the one?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Just go ahead.
Okay.
One's called Moon Man.
Moon
The poem is called Moon Man.
Moon Man. Yeah, I guess I am the type to make a big deal about the moon. I'm not about the giant stare. Minutes from blast off, ball of wonder joint. Minutes from blast off, ball of wonder joint. Bite me and I'll bite your graveyard light. In the far corner of the flat screen TV, the passionate kiss and the fog, clammy hand romance at Bogart Airport View. Clammy hand romance at Bogart Airport View. I'm not even the type to swoon, because the metaphor with the biggest bang. So what if once a month the moon gets folks to cash in the chips and throw in their pens? Big deal. To cash in the pens or cash in the chips? Big deal. Now I just like to look up and see how after all that's been said and done, a guy still up here.
Yeah, I'm up here.
Hanging, a guy still up here. Hanging, a guy still up here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Nick.
What can we say? It's time to make Black Lives Matter. That's all we can say.
Yeah.
Stand up for Ray Shah, Breonna, George Floyd, and all the others. And please donate now. Let's make this change. Let's see. We're up to $5,105. We'd love to squeeze it up to 7 at least today. Can we do that? Someone who has, access. Unfortunately, most of us are artists, so we kind of live from hand to mouth. But anyway, whatever you can donate will be great. And don't forget, $25 gets you a Mad Hat book, $50 gets you a Mad Hat and an Unlikely book, and $75 gets you a Mad Hat Unlikely book and Angry Lips, created by Tara Campbell, another amazing poet. Back to Indran.
And please, just real quick, we can't see it when you donate. So if you donate $25 or more and would like your prizes, please do send your receipt to info@litbalm.org.
And that's the official Lip Balm email, and you can find it on the Facebook page as well.
Great.
Back to you, Indran.
Thank you. info@litbalm.org. You know, we have some very, very strong poets still to hear from this evening. And, you know, I was very, very lucky, blessed really, back in 2019 when I flew west for Lawrence Ferlinghetti's 100th birthday. And I met for the first time Jack Hirschman, who has become a very, very close confidant and guide and inspiration. Jack Hirschman is Emeritus Poet Laureate of San Francisco, a founding member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade of San Francisco, which began in 2009, and now there are 5 brigades in the USA, 2 in France, 5 in Italy. He's a founding member of the World Poetry Movement centered in Medellin in Colombia, and a member of the League of Revolutionaries for a New America. He's also a fantastic, fantastic poet. Take it away, Jack.
Thank you, Indran, and all the poets who have read. In January 2017, Bill Roberts of the Bottle of Smoke Press in New York published the arcane that I'm going to read. It's called the Coup de Caen Arcane. 1. No, this da-da isn't a narco hymn to Donald the Trump. In the midst of the 100-year bistroversary of the mating between Lenin and Sara at the dawn of the epic of Tuknology and the tittle mobilization of the war to end all whores, when Vladimir said to Tristan, "Listen, Romaniac, you're just an artsy czar, and we're finished with czardom. Next year, our Bolshevikis are going to make the world sofa for children to run around in." Thus heardeth Zara Thustra, the theme of this hopefully provocative, evocative graffiti of an hurricane a-whirling. A centennial later, in a synchrony of simony, usury, Timony Martunis, and from the second we ruled war, through our career in military porher, vi et Granadas, gulfing down Nicaragua, penetrating Libya, the dopiated Talibans of Afghanistan with an Iraq blindness, and now with the hobby-hirsical dada ride of Donald Trump and the royal flush of his toilet mouth of lies and trumpery, we found, lo and behold, that he's committed the evilest of all Dada's evils, an evil that, when read backward, doesn't say live, but die. Trump has made children afraid, scared, as no other president ever has. 2. Oh, your coup d'etat is finished even before it's begun, dumbox. with a pickaxe beer and wholesome back, with hearts felt in a hearty field of kids, waking to the song the world is going to drown you out with, to drown you in for having made children all over the world tremble in fear. There can be no dapple talk now, no hypologies for that. There can only be your resignation literally, your disappearance totally. Otherwise, the kids themselves will mock it very plain to you. They control the armed forces, not you. The sin nuts, the house of rapper sensitives, not you. Fire and police departments will listen to the children, not to you. You're right. America will be great, but not with you. By you, we will not be ruled. From Katrina, Fornia, to now your Kaputnik. By you, we will not be ruled.
By you, we will not be ruled. Wonderful. That's the anthem, Jack. Take it away, musicians. Thank you. We're staying west, you know. The West is a close part of the Union. And we love it. We love it just as much as we love every other part of this Union. And we're going to bring this Union back, with this family back together. We have some celebrating to do soon, and some feast days to celebrate. But let's get the vote out first. Let's get the donations to this team that's doing great work for us in Kamala and Joe and the Democrats. We could win back the Senate too if we try hard. Our next poet, she's published by an exquisite press out there from Seattle, Wave Books. Her name is Dorothea Lasky. She's the author of 6 books of poetry and prose, most recently the book Animal. Go ahead, Dorothea.
Hello, thank you so much, and it's such an honor to be with all of you, and I felt so inspired hearing all of you read and just organizing this great event and all of us coming together. I'm so thankful that we're together tonight and raising money for this election. And yes, so I was toying between reading a poem that was kind of more inspiring and one that I wrote, you know, in the past few months that was a little bit sad because all the awful things that have been going on. But just listening to everyone's beautiful poetry, I thought I would read the more, well, maybe inspiring one. You be the judge. But this poem is sort of my creativity manifesto. And it's called Creativity as an Answer to the Question of Hate. No matter what they do, choose creativity as a lifestyle despite the horror. Yeah, I'm advocating for a no-holds-barred, orgiastic connection with the divine through a belief that time and space are part of the whole construct that makes us unhappy. And while inviting past and living principles of what you once were and what you will be, what you are now is an illusion. And as soon as you know that, you will rise up in personal, private, and public ecstasy, an endless purple flower in the midst of a perpetual purple rain. I'm saying hate has no place for the house you will continue to make, with friends and lovers who, in spite of the enemy, show you that love really is real. So do not go into the showers and stalls, my ancestors and children. Make the forest haunted with the Mars yellow lights you have strung up on the inside. Make the heart your place of worship. Be free. Thank you all so much. Thank you, and can't wait to hear the other wonderful poets next.
Thank you so much, Dorothea. It gives me a special thrill to introduce the next poet, who's my co-editor at Beltway Poetry Quarterly, which, by the way, will be releasing a new issue tomorrow. So keep an eye out for it online. Got very excited about the poems that we'll be sending into the world tomorrow. Sara Cahill Marron Marron, a relocated New York poet living now in Washington, D.C., is the author of Reasons for the Long Term, published by Broadstone Books in 2018. Nothing You Build Here Belongs Here, forthcoming from Kelsey Books in 2021. And a master opus, Call Me Spez, scheduled for Mad Hat Press in 2022. She's the associate editor of Beltway Poetry Quarterly. Her work has been published widely in literary magazines and journals and online. Take it away, Sara.
Thank you, Indran. I'm thrilled to be a part of this reading, and I just wanted to make note that this is not a virtual background. I'm actually reading to you in front of the Capitol as a way to commemorate the poem that I'm about to read to you. This is an echo poem of Alfred Tennyson's The Charge of the Light Brigade, and I call it Breathe In, a People's War. And this is a call to this war that we find ourselves in now. And I thought that because I live in DC, this was an appropriate place to sing this lyric. Here it goes. 1. Half a month, half a month, half a month forward. Watched world of the screen, transmitting ISP, my heart. Breathe in, a people's war. Stay in your homes, they said, a world of screens. Transmitting ISP, our hearts. 2. Breathe in, the people's war. Whose viral enemy? Digitized battle lines, citizens shall sanitize. Their hands washed, their touch undermined. Theirs not to hold, nor redefine. Into the world of screens. Transmit ISP, my heart. 3. Patience to the right, patience to the left, patience in front, cough and heave, doubled over, hot in hell, sick mixed with the well, 14 days alone, broken, abject, unknown. Transmit us, ISP, these hearts. 4. Skeptics kept faces bare, unmasked in naked air, shunned orders everywhere, immune to rule while the rest of us wondered. Huddled home, sheltered in place, the unmasked shout, seasonal or lab made, reeled from economic collapse, shuttered businesses plundered, false facts across news wires. Transmit me, ISP, my heart. Patience to the right, patience to the left, patience in front, cough and heave, doubled over, hot in hell, sick mixed with well. Doctor and inflicted died, nurses, clerks, drivers fell. 14 days more alone, distancing into phones, becoming digitized. Transmit me, ISP, this heart. 6. What will defeat the virus? Oh, how the world changes, re-emerging from homes, honoring sweet air, this people's war. Computers code our love. Transmitting, ISP, my heart. I think that's the only one I'll read. Thank you.
Bravo,
and
bravo.
vote.
Well done.
Thank you for including me.
Thank you, Sara.
Bravo, Sara. Thank you. Go ahead, Marc.
Well, there's so many things to talk about, but one thing's for sure is this current administration attacks all evidence-based practices, journalism, climate science, medicine, research of all kinds. People are entitled to their opinions, but not the facts. So let's fight for the truth at its roots. Please donate to Act Blue right now through the Lip Balm links which are available. You can go to the Facebook event page, click on tickets, go to the website lipbalm.org. There's the donate link there, and also on the Facebook. It's been posted several times, so please continue to donate. We are now up to $5,275. So let's see what else we can raise tonight. Back to you, Indran.
Thank you. It's a thrill for me, Warner, as well, to introduce the next poet. He's an old friend. He lived for a long time in Brooklyn. Dawad Philip from Trinidad is now back in San Fernando in his native Trinidad. His book, City Twilight, is just out from Anaphora. The publisher's name is Anaphora, and it's available at abooks.com. The microphone is yours, Dawad.
Thanks, Indran, and thanks everyone for some splendid poetry. I am in Trinidad, and I'm having a hard way to vote. They've done everything to cut us off from doing that thing to get him out the door, but it's okay because you know, he's gonna walk the gangplank, you know, and I take comfort in that. So, and then we can't travel, you know, we locked down here, so I can't get up to Brooklyn. But the Blue Coronet, this is Brooklyn before, you know, the change and gentrification and all of this. And New York, the other day someone said that New York is gone forever. Well, we see about that, but Blue Coronet. Sonny sat on a stool at the edge of the stage, hunched, 1 foot off the chessboard tiled floor at the Blue Coronet in Bed-Stuy, nodded side to side, pockets hung low, horn astride, tam with a star, giant of a man. When the bassist nudged him, Stitt rose to his feet, lifted his horn, and testified, "They can't take that away from me." Many moons ago, on a freezing night with eyes and ears for a lead on a slow news day, for flash bulbs popping and a race from copy to the hot press, to newsstands, ink wet on the bundles, that was the night Miles was shot after leaving the Blue Coronet, the hitmen leaving behind their call cards. We got there just in time at Club 555, the Baby Grand, Big Mabel, the Brooklyn Apollo, Otis, Carla, and the Barcays at the Lefferts, 5 stair steps at the Albee, Blue Child. And things did get easier, got brighter as we walked in the rays of a beautiful sun. And the light of Sparrow and the Troubadours, the light of Byron Lee and the Dragonaires, the Hotel St. George, the East, over on Claver, Pharaoh and Sun Ra lifting off for higher, brighter galaxies, Leon Thomas yodeling through a cosmos of oils and incense. The map of light we followed led cross town to tributaries, urban canyons, the A train rumbling under, dust kicking up from the gird of air vents, women knowing when to hold their skirts. The shuttle screeching overhead, last stop, Franklin Avenue. 1 flight up a storefront near Arlington and Fulton. Edward English sat clutching a canvas bag of poems written on the long walk from Alabama to the Sahara, as the artist Nat Pickney, his back against the light of 4 long windows, painted a blue portrait of the vagabond poet. When the lunch hour whistle blew at Sonar Radio Corporation on Whitman Avenue, Harry Schwartz would pop a can of tuna, dig in with a box of saltines, his magnifying glass pouring over odds and handicaps, weights and jockeys at Aqueduct and Saratoga, the sports pages of the news. Friday night, the beer fest at the Schaefer Brewery in Williamsburg, by the pitcher for $1. a diet of aluminum from too many TV dinners and asbestos in ports of factories and shipyards. Years since an address in Brooklyn turned out to be a barber shop, long gone, like the Blue Coronet, like Sonny's Bebop. No, you can't take that away from me.
Oh, my, Dawad, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's not only your nostalgia, it's all of our nostalgia in that poem. Thank you. Let me, I mean, just say, we're hearing some great poems tonight. I mean, we're just very, very lucky. And, you know, I just am grateful for the chance to hear these poems. I'd like to introduce now David Rivard. David Rivard is no slouch, my friends. He was awarded the 2017 Penn New England Prize in Poetry, listed in the New Yorker in its Books We Loved in 2016 roundup. And that's just the beginning, you know, we're reading very short bios. So I'll stop there and introduce to you David Rivard. Go ahead, David.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here with so many friends and so many others who I've either met or heard along the way. I'm speaking to you from the great state of Maine, where we're trying to dump Susan Collins as well as Donald Trump so that New England can be an entirely blue sector of reality. And if you have any money left over after you've contributed to this Lit Bomb event, you might want to donate to Sara Gideon's campaign. She's got a small lead on Susan Collins now, and it's the most expensive race in the country. It's also one of the most bitterly fought. And it's just it's not only important to get rid of Donald Trump, it's important that the Senate actually be turned over to the Democrats. I'm just going to read one poem. It's called This Age. This age is no more brutal than any other, which is to say, it would kill us if it could. We only want it to be seen. The world too wants to be looked at. But what popped into sight just now was ruthless. A pipeline carrying crude full of extinctions, chokeholds, and pepper spray. Those crimes against humanity that torturers and theological bankers have thought up. The pro-life who kill at long distance by drone. Jailers of children. Look at that. A book can heat a cold classroom like a snake with one benevolent ball of fire in its mouth. Look at that, the world could say. It doesn't. That's a huge willow over there as well, a savior for all its reinventions of shade. Every cardinal calling from a tree assumes the world is hard of hearing too. The world hears what it wants. A warring of the safest furs is stouter than a gem? No. A wavering of the softest fern is louder than a jet. Roar of the arrived, of the departing. The two of us have been speaking of someone whose mother had lost her hearing in the course of giving birth to her. From then on, declining gradually into grief and isolation. We're standing across from the Oddfellows Hall and the lampshade shop, by the side of the road, clipping hydrangea and Queen Anne's lace. Chamomile. I'll just say it again. Chamomile. Bye-bye, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you. What a fine, fine poem. You know, I almost don't want this evening to end, these readings to end, you know. We have two essential poets to go, and each of them could read for hours, and I would be listening and sitting down and listening, and I wouldn't eat a thing. I would just listen to them. So stick around. But before you do, we do hear those two. Marc, do you want to add something now?
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead, Marc.
We are now, let's see, we're up to 5,275. 127 people have donated over the course of the last two events. I was hoping we could push it up to 6 or 7 tonight, but we'll see what the coffers yield. Of course, we know we live in a dystopic world at this moment. Sometimes I personally believe that the country is run by Homer Simpson. And yeah, so we're in the middle of a reality TV show, really. It's time to make that end. We don't need to be in a reality TV show. We want to get on with our lives. We don't want to have to wear masks and all that sort of thing. Of course, you know, it happened. But let's just get through this. You know, hunker down, do your thing, make it happen. And for God's sake, let's get this guy out of the White House. Back to Indran.
Thank you, Marc. You know, when I first got to New York many years ago, I came across this book called The Enchanted Room, published by Copper Canyon Press, written by the poet who will read next, and I just fell in love. I mean, what a grand book. And then when I read the poems of Chennai, of Madras, I was just, I learned a lot reading those poems. So thank you, Moria Simon. Moria is reading to us from Mount Baldy in California. She has won numerous awards, including the 2019 Franklin Independent Publishers Gold Medal for her 10th volume of poems, The Wilderness, New and Selected Poems. Other honors, additional honors, include an NEA Fellowship, a University Award from the Academy of American Poets, the Mary Caroline Davies and Celia B. Wagner Awards from the Poetry Society of America, a Fulbright Fellowship, and multiple residencies at the American Academy in Rome. Moria, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Indran, and the other organizers, and all the poets and participants. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I wanted to give a special shout out and thank you to Jack Hirschman, whom I met when 60 years ago, when I was 10 years old back in Hermosa Beach, California, who was the first flesh and blood poet I met and who led me on the path to poetry by example. So thank you, Jack. I haven't seen you in 60 years.
Moria, can I just say, and sorry for interrupting, is it possible to increase your volume or speak a little louder? People are saying they can hear you, but not well. Thanks.
It's up as far as it will go, but
Okay.
I've moved closer. I hope that
Yeah,
will
if you move closer, that's good. Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Moria.
Many thanks to Jack Hirschman. And I live on Mount Baldy, only 5 miles from the Bobcat Fire, which is now 92% contained, but which burned 150,000 acres and which kept much of Southern California, the West, and even the rest of the country wreathed in smoke and ash for a long, long time. So we need to end all of the things that Trump and his cronies have done to I guess, disarm us in some ways from global warming, and to get back into the Paris Accords and to do something about what's happening to the world and the environment. This is called Summer of Skunks. A whiff of Jesus's torment in the late morning haze as the plague rages on, and our wildfires keep apace. Meanwhile, Greenland's snow mass waves goodbye to its haunches, and cumuli form atomic mushrooms that fade like mid-century mirages. America's schoolyards are eerily silent, their starving flies bereft of lunchboxes. Our hottest summer on record, Phoenix scores 110 degrees for 60 days in a crooked row. White lines scoring her back, a skunk calls out to her suitor, chirping loudly for his attention. Sometimes her lover stomps his feet irritably or grumbles because he can't get his grub on fast enough. They take turns squirting their stink at the bases of pine trees above which the squirrels riot. Most nights, only the barn owls sleep, owning their hungry reversals. Dreamless, they roost on weather vanes, spinning in lazy circles, speaking to rats in the rafters in human voices. Black lives matter because they're as sacred as your own, and as the lives of Buddhist monks and nuns burning like altars atop the Tibetan plateau. Listen, scorpions are clacking their castanets, locusts sizzle and buzz while everyone sighs. Oh, when will November's golden chariots of rain arrive? Thank you.
Thank you. November's golden chariots of rain arrive. Thank you, thank you.
Beautiful.
We have one more poet to go. You know, I already said I don't really want this evening to stop, to end, but
yes, we have one more poet to go. That's right.
yeah. So I guess we have to go to our big league hitter, you know, a great poet and friend who graced our pages in the Beltway Poetry Quarterly with some new poems recently, and we're so delighted, thrilled to include them. I remember a book of his called The White Words that changed my life when I read it. A former librarian, like Borges. Anyway, all of this he didn't say to say, it's just my musings. Baron Wormser is the author of 18 books and has received fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation. Take it away, Baron.
Thank you, Indran. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. Thank you.
It's an honor to be here tonight. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to all the people who worked to make this happen. It's a very important event. I'm going to read a poem that comes from a place where we've all been and we still are. March 2020. In the next chapter, the wheels come off. God declares on the ether phone that the mechanical plane never interested him. Human Resources asks, who has a wrench? Which results in squabbles. Who owns a wrench? Where is a wrench? Is it the right wrench? Can the wrench be shared? Meanwhile, the wheels roll further. Poets wave at them. Back on the ether phone, God asks if the wheels were ever attached to begin with. Free will and all that. Indignant, HR trumpets the genius of mortal invention, the varied vehicles of civilization, chariots, ox carts, landaus, locomotives, enough wheels to encircle the earth many times over. Too many, the poets say. The wheels roll further away. Time rhymes, a great fruitless circle whirling, a merry-go-round open to everyone. God is on record having deplored invention and not too polite to say, I told you so. We aren't going anywhere in this buggy, says Job. Maybe a wrench will fall from the sky, startling a group of children busy playing blind man's buff. Maybe the wheels were supposed to come off, but always in the next chapter, not now. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo.
Always in the next chapter. Right. Well, what can I say? This was an unbelievable event. What have we managed to hit, JP?
Tanya's sharing it now.
5,550. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Let's hope that we can raise a little bit more next week. But anyway, every penny counts, of course. Let's just get this, moron out of the office. I didn't say that. Anyway, thank you so much to everybody who was part of this. Indran, John Wahlberger, David Blair, Hugo Burnham, Stephanie Burt, Jiwon Choi, Peter Cooley, Stuart Dischell, Camille Dungey, Martin Espada, Luis Franca, Nick Hakim, Jack Hirschman, Dorothea Lasky, Sara Cahill Marron, Roy Nathanson, Dawad Philip, David Rivard, Moria Simon, and Baron Wormser. My God, what did we create tonight?
Yeah, this really was the most delightful reading I've ever experienced. Thank you so much. And you know something? We may even have an equally strong reading next Saturday, the 24th, with lots of very fine poets. And also, if you want to donate during the week, that's fine. Just keep the receipt and send it to us so we know that you donated.
Let's be sure.
Yes, send your receipts, please. If you'd like to redeem your prizes, your books, and your angry lips, please send your receipts to info@litbalm.org. That's BALM. And please tune in next week for the October 24th pandemic reading. We have Cornelius Eady, we have Carolyn Forshey, Naomi Shihab Nye, Mervyn Taylor, Ann Waldman, Paul Muldoon, Mark Doty, many others, and special guest host Patricia Spears-Jones. Do not miss next week. And thanks to all the brilliant readers of tonight.
Jack Hirschman has a question. Could you unmic him? Yeah.
Sure, one moment.
Yeah, thanks.
No, I was not having a question. I was waving adieu, goodbye to all.
Okay.
It was lovely, really.
Let's be sure and thank Tanya Woods, who's been running the room for us. We really couldn't do this without her.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for joining us and helping us out tonight.
Thank you, Tanya. Really was a special reading. Patricia, take it away next Saturday. Wonderful.
See you next Saturday, hopefully.
See you next Saturday.
All right. All the best to everyone. This will be archived.
Let's get rid of the bump in the road.
Yeah. This reading will be archived on YouTube, I believe, later on, so you'll be able to consult it if you so wish. Thank you. All the best.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Much love.
Good night.